So be rich inwardly in your mind. Imagine a society, your predecessors, who are able to write and think like that. 1,200 years have passed. Not a syllable of this book has been changed. Not a syllable of this book. Similarly, we have prehistoric Vedas. Not a syllable is changed. The language used then, even now it talks to us with the same profundity, with the same abundance, with the same splendor and greatness. See the majesty of the language, the precision and perfection with which our thinkers, our speakers evolved such a language and preserved it up to this day. What more do you want to understand your great lineage and heritage? Any extent of help, participation in propagating, in disseminating this culture will never be an excess from any one of you. That is why I want a Sanskrit township of world class to be made in India, where all the Sanskrit speaking people of India will assemble and Sanskrit will be spoken like water. It is perfectly possible. Now we are discussing how important it is in the matter of spiritual pursuit and sadhana, how important, what is attention. Attention. This attention is very important. Our scriptures have revealed quite a number of propositions, statements, truths and what not. They have been there with us for millennia. In spite of the fact that these truths have been revealed by the scriptures, how many are making use of them? How many find a compulsive relevance in their revelations? Whenever I have read the scriptures and I find something very useful and relevant, I don't know, there is no photography possible of what I feel in my mind. What I feel in my mind. After all, it is something like a very dear, near and respectable person telling you of some important matters in life. But because it is coming from a book or a text, we have no reverence for it. We are not able to take to it in the manner in which we should. That is our failure. The scriptures are perhaps the most valuable source, endearing source, affectionate source. I don't think anybody can love you as much as the scriptures do. But do you believe so? I don't think. See, our response is very important. The degree of attention, the wholesomeness of attention, the depth and loftiness of attention you are able to give to the scriptures and their revelations, these are very, very important. So that attention is very important. You have to be very attentive. We finally ended up saying, Lakshyachyudam ched yadi chittamishad behirmukham sannipadet tadastadaha pramadadaha prachyuda keli kandukaha sopana pantau padito yatha tatha. If you fail in your attention, you know what is going to happen? Will you recite this verse? Would you like to? Lakshyachyudam ched yadi chittamishad behirmukham sannipadet tadastadaha pramadadaha prachyuda keli kandukaha sopana pantau patito yatha tatha. See, we are discussing the broad subject of inner resources development. What? What do you mean by inner resources? In the whole universe, in the whole creation, there is only one place, understand it very clearly, where you will be able to probe inside into. You know where it is? Within oneself. Suppose I give you a book, how will you probe inside? Even when you read, it's an outside probe. It is the outside of paper. So this inner inside means it's only within one's own body. And only the human will be able to do it. No other creature in this world can and will ever does do it. Are you sure that you have understood the proposition? In the whole universe, there is only one place where you can probe inwardly, and that is within one's own body. Now, within one's own body, if you probe inside, what are there, you tell me? I repeatedly mentioned that there are only three constituents or components there. One is the thinking and feeling mind. Another is the rational and probing intelligence. The third is the asserting and coordinating ego. These are the only three constituents within the human body. There is something more that is not within the body alone, that is everywhere, what you call the self, God, or the supreme reality. It is something like sentient space. The objective space is not sentient, insentient. This is sentient space, consciousness. Now this is inner resources development. The resources which are held within your body by the mind, in the sphere of the mind. Again, resources held by the intelligence, resources held by the ego. This is what we are discussing here, nothing else. We speak of excellence, efficiency. What is this efficiency? Do you mean to say it is the efficiency of the body in eating and all that? That is the role of circus people, gymnasts in this world. Whenever we speak of efficiency in the performance of a task, this efficiency has to come, has to be delivered by your mind and intelligence. Our whole body along with the senses is only an instrument in the hands of the mind. And the mind has to be engineered by the intelligence. And all these things will have to be coordinated by the ego. Am I clear or not? Huh? Inner resources, resources which are within one's own body. Our whole body is an instrument, I said. This instrument is employed by the mind. So in employing the body, in conducting any activity or interaction, you tell me, where from does it proceed? Does it proceed from the body or does it proceed from the mind? The mind designs, wishes and wills. Then only the body is employed for the task. So an activity proceeds from the mind, takes shape from the mind, and while the activity is on, the connection is not broken. The mind connection continues. So I say, an action proceeds from the mind, it also subsists on the mind. Am I clear or not? While I am talking, the talking process cannot be disconnected from the mind. The moment the disconnection comes, I will not be able to talk at all. If at all I talk, I will talk nonsense. Now, when the activity completes itself or ceases or stops, that is again a termination that takes place in the mind. And it is carried on, it is preserved by the mind in the form of a memory. Then again one more point. All experiences, please tell me very clearly whether you know it or not. All experiences are inward and inner. Do you agree or not?
Yes.
I am seeing all of you. And all of you are outwardly present, so many of you. But my seeing you is very personal and individualistic. And this seeing process is not external. It is not? It is inner. Do you agree or not?
Yes.
What is there outer then? Even the outer or outerness, it is an idea generated by the mind. So an activity proceeds from the mind, subsists on the mind, concludes and terminates in the same mind, And all experiences are inward and inner. Now you tell me what is outer? When you say, I am seeing the external world, I am seeing the external world, this pronouncement, where from does it come? It comes from the inner mind? Is it not? So where is the so-called outwardness? So we are discussing the subject of inner resources development. Naturally, the subject involves a great and a close examination of the mind and the intelligence, what all potentials and possibilities these two have within themselves. See, you have all studied, you have undergone a lot of training, experience and whatnot. Can you tell me how many hours you have spent in your life to probe into your own mind and understand its potential, magnitude and possibilities? I think day before yesterday somebody came here, a couple and the father of the man. All the three of them were talking to me and finally they came to the actual fact. Then I was discussing. It was a behavioral point, an interactional point. Now when I presented a point of view, they had to accept the truth of what I said, but the mind finds it difficult to accept. I was making a proposition. We are not getting sufficient respect and regard from our own people. As long as you don't get sufficient respect and regard from your own people, you need not go to them. If you are not welcome in a place, why should you go? Why should you go there? Is it difficult? Maybe it is your father or father-in-law. My dear father and father-in-law, see, earlier I was very happy to come to your house. You are very regarding, etc. Now I find there is a distance. As long as there is a distance, it gives me the feeling that I should not come to your house. When the distance goes away, melts away, and you are all right, please give me a ring, I will come doubly. Why don't you say that and keep quiet? Huh? Let it be your father, let it be your mother. See, in my Purvashrama, I used to tell people, you see, we have some friends, at least 3 or 4 friends I must have had, at least people from our own village and town. So I used to say, I will not come to you for nothing. When there is a purpose, I will come to you. When you have a purpose, please come to me. Otherwise, don't expect from me any informal exchange and talk. When there is a purpose, I shall talk to you. What is this? I and my friend get together and go on chit-chatting. We have nothing else to do in life. Why don't you read a useful book which will be enlightening you? Chit-chatting. What is this? Even here in the satsang hall, the moment I stop my talk, kuch. And they are not talking about what they have heard, something else. They are coming here for satsang, but they will wait for the satsang to stop and start talking. I don't know what they are talking. Where is it held up? It is just like a dam broken or let loose. See, somewhere there is no regard for you. You can easily say that, I don't feel I am regarded where I am invited there, so I don't come. I don't come. See, I will tell you one instance. After all, my body also belongs to a family. I was supposed to be the 7th child and the last son of our family. So there was an occasion when many of us got together, brothers and others. So somebody wanted to take a photograph. So in the photograph I was asked to stand. I said, if I stand in the photograph, she will not like it, I said. What? Referring to somebody related to the assembly, I said, if I stand in this photograph, she will not like. So don't ask me to stand. Then the person was saying, why are you saying so? Because you don't like me. You don't like me, so if I stand in the photograph, will it be all right? So all of you take the photograph and you may take a photograph of mine later. It's such a manner that finally all her dislike vanished and I had to pose for the photograph. Only because of this statement. You see, the fact is known to her. The fact is known to me. Then why should I not say that? That she does not like me is a fact. It is known to her and known to me. Then why should two disliking people pose together for a photograph along with the others? Is it not very natural justice? So I said this. So I have a knack of doing this manner. I have no problem. There was a Swami living with me, not my disciple or anybody, an elderly person. And he was living with me. Old people behave very strangely. Somehow or other, his behavior was so bad that he antagonized everybody in the ashram. So I told Swamiji, you came here in a very fond manner, I also fondly asked you to stay. But you have antagonized people in the ashram to such an extent that I don't think your continued presence will be all right. Neither will you be happy, nor the others will be happy. So I think it is better that you go. He was very shocked. Then he finally went away. And thereafter he came one day. When he came, tea was prepared and nobody else would take the tea to him. So I took the tea and offered him. Then he said, this is a place from where you have asked me to go. So how can I take tea? Yes, I only asked you to go because of a situation. Now that you have come, your arrival is all right. You have not come here to stay. But you have only come here maybe, for maximum you will spend half an hour or 1 hour. You must be tired, you are old. Why don't you take this tea? I have brought it myself. Please take it. I am giving it to you very affectionately. Your body will need it. When I said this, he said, I will not drink. So I said, I tell you once again, please take it. If you don't take, I will simply take it back. He drank it. What is wrong? When somebody does something wrong, I go and say, this is something that is not good. Do you think it's good for you and good for the others? So please don't do it. I tell them. I don't know, is there not a good way of behaving in this world? A good way of behaving. Now why I am mentioning to you, all these are behavioral patterns which we have to know. We are carrying tension unnecessarily. Let us clear up our mind, clear up our mind. Why are you keeping so many matters of tension? There should be nothing in this world, no impact generated by the world, which your mind is not capable of resolving or dissolving. Any impact from the world, our mind has got capacity and potential to resolve, if not resolve, at least dissolve. I say the mind has got capacity. So I would not like any one of you to have a heavy mind with you. Similarly, the ability of a man, the readiness of a man, the potential of a man, mental and intellectual potential, they are subject to constant enhancement. I would like to put it in this way. Every day should be a day of additional enrichment to your personality. Do you agree or not? Externally, in the action front, maybe in the domestic front, professional front, in the societal front, all days will not be equally pleasant and welcome. There will be some unpleasant developments, there may be. Whatever may be the external situation, internally you can be enriched. Think of a businessman who always makes a profit. Suppose he has got the ability to withstand a loss. Is he a better businessman or worse businessman? In the same manner, if one day the impact from the world has not been very good for you, if you are able to dissolve it or assimilate it, will you not become a better person? Now my formula to you will be, you should not allow your mind to be victimized by anything in this world. What? You should not allow your mind to be victimized by any development whatsoever. Your mind is your mind and it is royal. It has got a great dimension. I say the mind has got great dimension. I don't say your body has. The mind has got very great dimension. It is the mind which projects, which draws a picture, which makes you experience the entire universe. The universe is endless, endless, endless. The endless universe is seen and experienced by your mind. So you tell me whether your mind is small or big. Infinitely big. I said mind has got infinite capacity. Please understand this. I have been speaking about it for n number of times. Now what is this capacity of the mind? The mind produces thoughts. It has got feelings. It has got emotions. All these things it generates. Then it also receives and responds to external events and outcomes. So the mind's role is to generate thoughts, feelings and emotions, respond to situations and receive and assimilate the impacts from the world, particularly interactional impacts and outcomes. So if the mind is capable of thinking, generating very useful and benevolent thoughts from time to time, I call it, it must be able to generate as much of output as possible from within. Then it must be able to assimilate all the impacts from the world. The impacts can come from persons, places and events. Am I clear? In all your interpersonal reaction, a lot of inputs will come from the others. Then you will have inputs from when you interact with different places and different environments. Then different events also will take place. Our interactions are with persons, places and events. And all these interactions will generate interactional impacts or outcomes. The mind must be able to assimilate all of them. When I use the word assimilation, understand, when the food is assimilated by the system, what happens? It is converted into blood and energy. Similarly, when the impacts are assimilated by the mind, it becomes an enrichment and empowerment. Now, I would like you not to fail in any situation in this world to assimilate its impact. This is what I want. A couple living very beautifully and comfortably, somehow their relationship becomes very hard, very difficult to bear, and they decide to part. So if the initiative is taken by anybody, you try to patch it up. Finally, if it is going to be a divorce, before it becomes a reality, your mind must be prepared for it. Because it is going to be a reality. Why don't you prepare yourself for it? Before any event takes place, be prepared to welcome it and assimilate it. According to me, this is called the inner resources development. Do you agree or not? Huh? At least take it from me. There is no situation or impact in this world which the human mind cannot assimilate and get enriched by. Sri Rama was quite ready to abandon, get away from Ayodhya for 14 years. He did not take any time to say, before the sun sets today, I will have left Ayodhya. He said it with a lot of readiness. Similarly, he abandoned his pregnant wife Sita also at another time, and he lived completely in separation. We have these monumental, historic, epic examples before us. See, Ramayana and Mahabharata are clearly depicting the story of the human mind, the behavior of human society. Everything is mentioned there. And it is a part of our history, part of our culture. In both cases you will find Ramayana is around Sri Rama and Mahabharata is around Pandavas and Kauravas. Now the story of Kauravas, you know, Pandavas, what did they do? They lived for 13 years in exile. And Rama lived for 14 years in exile. That is why we are reading the book. Now this is a kind of a privation or an austerity or a denial which they underwent. And by undergoing this denial, what happened? Their minds got strengthened. Their intelligence became clearer. with a much lesser army, they were able to face a much huger army. In spite of it, they succeeded in the war. They ruled the kingdom for 36 years. After that, they left everything and walked into the Himalayas, dropping their bodies. How did Sri Rama shed his body? In the Sarayu river. How did Krishna leave his body? How did Balarama leave the body? How did Rukmini drop his body? Understand that we are to breathe all these inspirations. Never devalue your mind. Your mind has got tremendous capacity, and all the capacity is only to think, feel and remember. Then to assimilate all the impacts from the world, from your life. This is the only capacity that we want.